Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I'm not cooking.
Sorry, that was another event. Well, Chef, as a human being, as an eater, as an American, and as a granddaughter of a woman born in Puerto Rico, I want to say thank you so much. So let's get started. You have 30 restaurants about with your Think Food group. You've got a wonderful wife and family and home in DC. What compels you to put on your vest and get on a plane and head for disasters? Because Maria was not your first.
Somebody said that life really starts at the end of your comfort zone. And quite frankly, I've, like many other people, I feel even guilty sometimes that it seems everybody is thanking me because I do this and that. But the truth is that it's so many people around the world, every single day, right here in Chicago, in our communities, in places as far as anywhere in Africa, in Indonesia, that they dedicate their lives to make the lives of others better. So I've given so many things when I came to America. The least I can do is give a little bit back. And I learned that everybody in this room, anybody around the world, we all have the power to change the life of somebody by only showing up. I am a cook. I know how to cook. I know how to organize. And if one plate of food can change the life of somebody for the better, especially in a moment of distress, I think we all should be putting our talents to do that. We don't only feed the few, we can be feeding the many. We should put our talent at the service of others when Americans are in need. So that's why I do it.
All right, so you started with Haiti, and then you worked in Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Harvey. Tell me about your thought process about going to Maria.
Maria, we just came from Houston. We were there a few days, I think 9 days, helping in local restaurants, at the convention center, children's hospital. We were cooking and delivering food. And then when Maria was coming, we saw it was very big. And like always, my wife got me my backpack. She always puts my fishing, my fishing gear, as we call it. And she knew that I was about to go. I was waiting for the first plane. I was very lucky to get on a Monday morning plane with my friend Nate Mook, who is right now the executive director of World Central Kitchen. And we went there. I told my wife, I'll be back in a week.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen. Things were bad, but they were even worse than what we were seeing on TV. People had no electricity, had no phones. The entire island shut down. And why? Because I knew we could be feeding some people. That's why I went.
Now, for folks who haven't read the book, it's available here, and I really would recommend it. I did not expect it to be so riveting, and I didn't expect to learn so much, but there are some people who don't come off so well in the book, and then there are some groups that I had no idea about. When I think of feeding in humanitarian crises, I don't think of the Southern Baptist Convention, and yet you say they play this enormous role. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. They've been always my heroes. I've been watching them in action for a long time, and in part, they've been my inspiration to do what I do. Because they don't go everywhere, but in the parts they are unbelievable. So every time you see the Red Cross delivering food, not always, because now we partner with Red Cross especially in the last year and a half. But you will see these men and women, many of them retire, many of them veterans, and they make these kitchens in the middle of nowhere, and they began cooking like I've never seen anybody cooking. They can put a lot of meals out there. So it's very amazing to see that these guys, they've been doing it for such a long time.
Yeah, since the 50s.
And somehow they're always under the radar. But by no means we've been the only ones. These guys, they've been doing it before anybody in a very organized way. So, I've been trying to very much recreate my organization, the World Central Kitchen, learning from what they do well, and in the areas we can be improving. Sometimes, in Sandy, New York, I spent 3-4 days just watching how they were able, in the middle of nowhere, just keep doing 10, 20,000 meals a day. So to me, there are some of those unsung heroes, and that's what I try to do in the book, to bring light to those amazing men and women that they do it, and sometimes they don't get absolutely any recognition.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because they don't have a tweet game or a Twitter game or
You gotta help
Facebook.
them learn how to tweet.
And quite frankly, they are sometimes it even makes me feel guilty. I tell my teams, it's like, we shouldn't be tweeting about it, or we shouldn't. But actually, everybody always tells me that we should, because it's very important that people know we're doing it. Because many people want to join, many people want to donate, many people want to help us with food. People find out of what we're doing. So actually, social media serves this amazing purpose to others know what you're doing, so people know where to get help or how to help.
That brings us to the theme of this year's festival, graphic. We've all been told to ask some questions about it, and this actually to tease that right up. How important are those images on social media to shaping the narrative and to getting the word out? That's not cooking, but that's important too, right?
Well, graphics are super important. We all love teams, right? Sports especially, because we all believe we are part of one idea, even if it's to try to hit the ball or to score. And we are all like, wow, look at how many of us, we are behind the same task of beating the other team. But imagine when you bring the same philosophy to real issues. Not like sports is not an important issue, but to real issues. And you are able to create a team. Mm-hmm. The logo of World Central Kitchen, we made it very colorful on purpose. Is this kind of representing different pans and plates representing the planet. And we learned that all the volunteers, they wanted to have that kind of graphic design. They wanted to own the shirt because that made them be part of the team. In Puerto Rico, at the end, every single volunteer, we were trying to get shirts. It was becoming expensive, but we were getting donations for shirts, so it was expense we could afford.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm amazed how a graphic, in a very powerful way, can be uniting humans behind an idea. An idea that in this case was very clear. People were hungry. We didn't plan, we didn't meet. We began cooking. And that idea was very clear with one simple graphic. But also things that happen in a very without thinking kind of way. We will see signs sometimes. People will go in the middle of the street, and probably is this very iconic photo. In Punta Santiago, one of the places that was hit by the hurricane, that somebody that really, they were in need of help. Not one person, but the entire community. They were so bold to write in the middle of the street, SOS. Oh. We need food, we need water. And that became a very iconic photo. Huh. And actually we saw that photo on social media. And thanks to that SOS, we were there within 4 hours. Oh. And we made it one of the places that we will keep going every single day during weeks. So graphics have this amazing power of a call to action. People need you. You know where to find them. And then, in this case, thanks to those graphics, the ones of our shirts and our logo, we were able to create the spirit. We are one. We, the people, we can take care of anything.
Yeah.
But also was a way those graphics were able to connect us with the real needs. In this case, in Puerto Rico, but this keeps happening more and more in other parts of the world. So graphics are a powerful tool to connect, and a powerful tool to ask for help. In Puerto Rico happened, and I was very proud in this case, connecting with this festival, how graphics had a very, very powerful role.
And the images of you cooking out there with that paddle from a boat.
Well, I'm so sad I mean, listen, that was not my idea, okay? This is probably the only time I cook during the entire mission. No, I feel so bad because I'm sure I will go in the kitchen and I will, for 2 minutes, make some sandwiches because the volunteers like me to be there. But you need to remember, okay? How many of you read the book already? I forgive you.
They're getting it today.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
So we went from one kitchen to 26 kitchens around the island. At one moment, we were operating 18th at once. We went from 20 women and men the first day, the band of brothers that we got together and started cooking. We went from 20 to 25,000 volunteers strong. We went from 1,000 meals the first day to 150,000 meals a day. We were delivering at some moments during the operation in more than 900 distribution centers around the island. And we reached almost 4 million meals, obviously, by now. So the issue was big. We never saw it as a big one. We only saw that the need was real. And every time we got a phone call, every time we got a tweet, every time we got a Facebook, every time we got anybody coming, asking us for food, we began saying yes to everybody. And that's why we had to keep making the operation bigger and bigger.
Expanding. You talk a lot in here about the importance of a hot meal in showing that somebody cares. Can you tell me why that hot meal is important?
It's a lot of people that will, and I give them that probably they have their part of reason, right? To cook the way we cook, almost fresh food, is hard. It's not easy. It's a lot of issues. But the way we do it now, especially in America, is the MREs, right? The meals ready to eat.
The ones they give out in the Army.
If you've been in the military, probably the MREs is the single reason why the poor men of the military, I want to retire. I was in the Spanish Navy. I served 1.5 years. So it's amazing what those men and women do. But the MREs are being used more and more in these emergencies to give away. They're simple, it's easy. You can have an MRE that is 100 years old and still is edible, which is, no, believe me, it's brilliant. I wish I could know how to do that. I don't have to be cooking every day. What the heck? I cook today and here, food for the year. I don't have to go back to the restaurant. But the issue with MREs, we forget is this. Number one, they're super expensive. And if we are trying to do it better, we should be saving money if we can do even better. Number two, we have this tendency to go and drop them. Do you know that sometimes you watch the movies that you see the parachute that is landing with food somewhere in the world, in Africa? Well, this happens in America too. You get somebody, drops MREs, and then they say, well, we already gave them food. And then they don't come back for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They don't know what's going on. They don't know how many people really are in that area they are trying to help. The MREs occupy a lot of space. Sometimes they tell you, wow, we're giving you a big pallet of MREs. Well, a big pallet is not so many meals, and this town is 5,000 people. And you're not coming back in 2 weeks. And you are only going to have enough food only for a few people for 1 or 2 days. When we go back every day with fresh food, we understand the real needs. We understand what's happening. We gather intelligence. We began learning about the old people, elderly people, that they cannot move from home because they are handicapped. We began learning that they need blue tarps. We began learning that they need special medication. We began learning the things that the community needs. So by us preparing hot food, it's not only to show that we care, to show that things will be better tomorrow, to be patient. By doing the food every day and bringing it every day, we are allowing ourselves to start slowly gathering whatever food is available in the area we're trying to help. Because some people try to bring the food from somewhere else. And sometimes you have the food right there. And we try to start buying locally. In Indonesia, we are in Palu. We've been doing there between 12 and 14,000 meals a day in a very remote part on Indonesia that was hit by the earthquake. And we began buying locally. Why this is very important? Because the entire economy collapses. Because everybody is, when an NGO like us arrives and we start buying from the local farmers whatever they had left, it's an amazing, beautiful way to start helping those communities to really begin in the process of providing the relief, also helping them go back to normal quicker. If we bring all the food from outside, we bring all the aid from outside, what actually we're doing in the process without realizing is that we are putting those economies for the next few months, couple of years, we're already shutting them down. So we try to provide relief aid that is in the process of helping people, helps the local economies come back. That's what we always try to do. And that's why MREs may be okay in certain scenarios for 1 or 2 or 3 days, but when you have to be feeding people for the longer, it doesn't make any sense anymore to me. I think the least we can do for Americans after a hurricane, after an earthquake, after a volcano, is just to give them a humble plate of food every day. That's what we try to do.
So one hot meal a day at least.
Yep.
So sancocho or arroz con pollo, rice with chicken, or paella.
Well, or jambalaya.
Jambalaya.
Or our chefs are becoming way too creative, I tell them. Believe me, it's hard to keep them, like, guys, I mean, this is not a cooking competition who makes it. But I love how much effort they do in making the best we can.
Yeah. Local ingredients, suiting local tastes.
In Guatemala was great because in the moment you get the volunteers, they are the ones that very much, and sometimes they will come to me, I'm like, Jose, we don't like this type of food you're cooking. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I am José Andrés. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. We eat our tortillas like this here. I'm like, okay. But that's the beautiful thing. Brillat Savarin, the French philosopher, and I don't speak about French openly like this. I mean, I'm a Spanish chef, it's a lot of competition there. But this guy in 1826, he wrote The Physiology of Taste. And he's the guy that said, tell me what you eat and I will tell you who you are. It is true that we are what we eat. And people, especially, even when they're hungry, I'm not talking extreme hunger, okay? I'm not talking, but when they're hungry, but still, everybody in those moments, food is what gives them a sense of who they are, of belonging. So for me, that I may be in Guatemala or I may be in Haiti and people come to us and, hey, careful here.
Too much garlic.
We don't, too much garlic. To me, only gives you the sense of pride that is in food. But also that food gives them hope. Food gives them and gives them a sense that even if it's chaos where they are, and they are in a camp under very bad conditions, the moment they receive that plate of food is a moment of wow, of feeling good, of saying, okay, I can live another day under these circumstances. I can make it one more day. Hopefully tomorrow things will be better. So that's why it's so important to bring a good, hot plate of food that they love.
All right, I believe you. So I'm going to get serious here. I'm going to read from chapter 7, Seeing Red. And you say, some people spend their early mornings planning how they're going to help the world. Others are just trying to get ready for another day at the office. Then there are the people who start their day watching cable TV news and tweeting in response. So guess what this chapter's about?
I wrote that?
Yeah, it says so. Yeah. So in this book, you don't pull your punches a lot when it comes to, calling out problems with FEMA, calling out problems with the Red Cross, and calling out some problems with the current occupant of the White House. What were the pros and cons of that?
There were only pros.
Okay.
There were. Because every one of those organizations, I try very hard to work with them initially. And actually, I work with them. In the book, we explained that FEMA at the end gave money to World Central Kitchen to do what we were doing. And in the book, I explain exactly how that happened. But money sometimes is not the only thing you need. You need to be using the resources. We have military helicopters, and they have no missions, but they are there waiting. And we know by GPS communities that they are incommunicated by land, and we can be using those helicopters to be bringing the food. I feel very bad that we have them. It still costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And the same soldiers are the ones telling you, I wish we could be working with you because we have no missions right now. We did work with them, but never happened by the top. Always happened by
people to people.
The bar talk, I call. You know where the military are, you go to the bar, and you are like, hey, man, I'm not trying to go out with you, I'm only, can we use your helicopter? Like that. But at the very beginning, I really tried hard. But I understand I was no unknown entity beyond the people that may know me because my few TV shows here and there and my restaurants. Mm-hmm. And my NGO was not really an entity that is known. But you need to understand the situation in Puerto Rico. We were the only ones trying to do something. And actually, I was not talking. We were already doing it. So every day I keep increasing the number of meals because I wanted to show people what we were able to do. In my crazy brain, I knew we could feed the entire island, which we didn't. Not only what we could cook, but how to maximize the resources in the island. It was a catering company in the airport. That catering company, if we open it, could employ locally and could produce up to 250,000 meals a day right on the island. Affordable, quick, fast, clean, employing locals, buying as much as local food was available, even after the hurricane. So I was very upset that they will not listen to that. I was very upset that they will not, after we did the contract, we had to provide food and water. But the water was controlled by the government, FEMA and the military. And so I couldn't buy it because nobody was selling it. So I will go to FEMA and say, can you give me the water? No, we can't because you have a contract with us. Like, okay, can you sell me the water? We can't because the federal government doesn't sell water. Say, okay, can you subtract the cost of the water from whatever money you will give us a few months from now? We can't because the federal government doesn't work that way. And then I would say, okay, can you tell Coca-Cola, who is the one providing the water, to sell it to me? No, because the federal government has to be in control of the water. So technically, if I didn't serve water with the food, our contract will be no good anymore because we didn't do what we promised, which will be giving water. Then 2 months ago, 1 million gallons of water were found in a tarmac worth $20 million, waiting to be distributed 1 year later. This is the illogic of the government, right? The men and women that work at FEMA, they are the best. I love them to death. They work 24/7, away from their families. But the truth is that the system sometimes doesn't work to help them be successful. Red tape, as we call it. Me, when I hear President Trump saying, I am a president that is going to end red tape. I'm going to make a smaller government. We're going to be quicker and faster. I was like, I'm ready to clap at you if it's true that your words were put at the service, in this case, of feeding the people of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So in the book, I try to be pragmatic. It is true that I believe you can be Republican and you can be Democrat. But to me, leadership is 51% empathy. If you don't have empathy, you cannot be a leader, period.
So in your book, it seems like time and time again, you were trying to find the person who was in charge of the food, the person who the buck stops here. If people aren't fed, this person's in trouble. Why wasn't there anyone who was in charge of all the food?
Again, Puerto Rico was this kind of amazing. 4 days later, after arriving, I was invited to FEMA. And I went to what they call mass care. Mass care is the unit that takes care of food. And I was there for 1 hour listening, and almost the word food was not being used one time during the hour. And I was like, exactly where are we? I mean, and there was the biggest many NGOs. The reason I went there is because the night before I got one gentleman from the Salvation Army, which overall I think they do a very good job. But they are big NGOs. They request money from every one of us every day.
Yeah.
So when you request money comes responsibility too. They cannot only be asking for us to support their NGOs and then don't show up when the big events happen.
Right.
That night he asked me for 400 meals. And I was very happy because for a chef to give food to the Salvation Army in an emergency is like a big medal. It's like, yeah, we're here first. But that's fine. That's a healthy competition, as I will call. When next days I go, and I began asking around, where are your kitchens? How many kitchens you have? Well, we are still on the planning. We don't know if kitchens are going to be necessary for this mission. I'm like, okay, and where is the food, and where are the distribution trucks? Well, this is a different operation than when we do it in Florida or North Carolina. That moment is when I realized that was not really a plan. They kept talking about the 4 million meals a day, which will be 2 meals for 2 million Puerto Ricans. Imagine the numbers. That was the real talk. If anybody wants to know more, was a very big, we talk about it here, but obviously FEMA was trying to do their work. They were hiring a company in Georgia for 35 million meals for almost $140 million. A catering company in Atlanta, a catering company of 2 people.
Wow.
How many meals made it into Puerto Rico? 0. That's why they came to us at the end and they told us, okay, we're going to do it with you. But I was not aware that this other thing was happening. So here it shows you that everybody understood the gravity of the situation. Everybody was aware that Puerto Rico was really a big disaster. That's why we were doing what we were doing. That's why we were able to go from 1,000 meals the first day to 120,000 meals a day in a matter of days. We saw the urgency of now. FEMA, the word emergency, we're having a big problem. FEMA needs to give value to emergency again. It's plenty of things they do well. But actually, the ones that they don't do well, they do them very badly.
And then you come in to help.
And that's why we need to. The reason I did the book was not to show off. It was a way for me to honor the men and women that out of nowhere did it. But also was a way to put pressure on the big NGOs, on FEMA, on the different government officials, to make sure that we are watching and to make sure that if they are in charge, no American should go hungry more than 1 day. 3,000 people die in Puerto Rico, probably more. I can guarantee you there was many that died because they didn't have clean water, or elderly people that didn't have proper meals, or people that didn't have generators, to their breathing machines, or people that didn't have medication. I don't know about medicines and generators so much, even we were delivering them too. But I know that if we have these situations, the emergency has to be now. The urgency of now is now. And especially when you talk about food and water, you cannot wait a week or a month to have contracts and bidding. When Americans are hungry after an emergency, we have to start feeding them now. One day later is not acceptable in this DNA, in this age.
Yeah. I've covered chefs for a long time, and I know that they don't like to be kept waiting. They don't like chit chat, and they don't stand on ceremony. They say, "Get it done. Let's start cooking and feeding people," and that's what you need. So speaking of chefs, they also like to entertain people, and you have many restaurants, including in D.C. What would happen if the commander-in-chief walked into one of your restaurants in D.C. and you were there?
President Trump?
Yes.
Well, this is becoming very controversial because there's been cases that some people of this administration are showing up in restaurants. Number one, everybody can do whatever they want in their home. And I'm not going to be saying if it's right or wrong. But me, I grew up in an environment that I have plenty of friends I disagree with about many different issues. But by having them next to me and me next to them, we become better. Because we try to be humble enough to learn from each other. And I'm a cook. The word restaurants comes a long way in Spain, had a big meaning. It's not only restaurant from restoration. You don't only restore your body physically, but you restore your soul by being in a table, eating the food, if you believe or not in Jesus, in God, but that Mother Earth gives you. For me, a restaurant has been always a place of inclusion, a place that people from different parts of the world come together to share a meal. To me, if I will have President Trump, I will have no issue, no problem at all, feeding him like I've always fed everybody. Because maybe it's a moment that sometimes you can be sending very amazing messages, like immigration. Today, probably every time we eat in the White House, in the Capitol, our senators, our congressmen, probably one of the ingredients on the plate is being picked by an undocumented immigrant. When sometimes some people say, oh, because some people won't use illegals to come. I don't want illegals to come. I want to protect my daughters. I don't want to. But what I don't want to is to live in a big lie. We cannot have 11 million undocumented living in America, making sure that we have our vegetables and our fish and our greens are ready to play golf so we can pat better, and then don't recognize that they are part of the DNA of America. And I believe this is not the Democrat way or the Republican way. This is the human way. America has been a country of immigrants. America has been built upon immigrants. Yes, maybe generations that there are 20 generations already, 50, and somebody like me that just came 25 years ago. But we need to live by the principles of who we are, we the people, all under one flag. But above all, everybody respecting each other. So in my restaurants, everybody is welcome. And if somebody is unhappy that I welcome everybody, they are the ones having the problem. I don't believe we are going to be solving the issues we are facing right now by acting like the ones we criticize act. Me, I want to be a place of inclusion, and I want my restaurants to be places of inclusion. So I will serve him, and I will serve everyone. I've served plenty of Republicans, and I've served plenty of Democrats all my life, and I had the same respect for both of them. But then, yeah, we have this other person, but we are trying to find a space. We need to. I do believe a plate of food can change somebody. So can my plate of food change him to become more a president of I agree more with? Sometimes it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's just about pure respect. And the way a cook has to show respect to somebody, it's just feeding them. So I will always show respect to everybody, even if sometimes they seem they don't show the same respect to everybody else.
All right. So, Chef, I was watching the Oscars last year, and then Common was singing a song, and then I saw you walk out onto the Oscars stage, and you had something in your hand. I'm like, that's weird. Like, what does he have in his hand?
Yeah.
Suddenly, in the middle of the song, you unfurl the Puerto Rican flag. And I never tweet during shows, and I tweeted to you, Chef, la bandera bien hecho, muchas gracias. It was like I was so touched. Yeah. Tell me, how did you sneak the Puerto Rican flag onto the Oscars stage that night?
So Common was singing, and his friend, Abra, the singer, the woman.
I'm so bad.
Why we always forget the woman?
I know, Andre something.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry? There we go, Andra Day.
She's amazing, unbelievable, an unbelievable soul, Andra. And number one, quite frankly, I joke, but my life is a little bit like, I love Forrest Gump, because sometimes it's like, if I will tell somebody I will be at the Oscars, I made so much money that day, because I began telling my friends, yeah, I'm going to LA to the Oscars, I'm going to be on the stage. And now you don't, to say, $10? Yeah. So, I made so much money that day, like, anyway. But Common called, and he's a great guy.
As he does, yeah.
Well, it's common. And then I was like, wow. And then I took the flag with me, and I got him on the side like 5 minutes before, and I told him, listen, I have this flag. It's okay if I don't, because it's the Oscars, everything is controlled, right? Yeah. And I'm like, shit. And like, number one, how cool that they gave me the option to be there with the other amazing men and women that all the different people that were there, that they did amazing things over the last year. But I told him, and Common told me, you can do whatever you want, man. this is you. This is you be you. But he said, just make sure you put it on the pocket, because once you are there, they cannot do anything. It's not like I'm going to have a bodyguard going to take me down in the middle of the ceremony, right? Yeah. And so, and then he said, yeah, towards the end is this moment we're asking everybody, then in that moment, I did it, and now everybody thinks I am Puerto Rican. And you know one thing? I love it. So I'm going to be Puerto Rican for the rest of my life. And, I'm a citizen of the world. Everybody knows how Spanish I feel. And everybody, I think, they're learning how American I feel. And I think immigrants like me, I think that's what we do. I think we build bridges. Mm-hmm. Bridges to show each other that we are not so different, that we may have different accents. We may love different gods. We may eat different foods. We may love different sports. But at the end of the day, we are so much more similar, so much more equal one to each other. And immigrants is our role, I think, to be thankful to the places they give us home, but also a way for us to show that beyond the ocean is other people too, that they share your same values. So that's why I believe immigrants, we are all necessary in every corner of the world.
All right.
I don't know what this has to do with the Oscars.
With the bandera.
But
it's a beautiful speech in any case. We're going to open up questions to the audience. And while you guys are thinking up your questions, I'm going to ask you another one. So this is an Echo published book. It's a HarperCollins imprint. But it also says an Anthony Bourdain book. Can you tell me, A, what that means, and what the chef meant to you?
Well, Anthony had his own book label.
Okay.
With HarperCollins, Echo. And I remember texting Tony from Puerto Rico. This was already many weeks later, a couple of months later, and I was like, man, Tony, I think maybe we should tell this story. And then he texts me back, what are you waiting for? Like, Tony was this kind of guy. He was checking on me here and there. Are you okay? So yeah, I miss Tony, I think. It's been a big loss. But he's going to be always with us. And I cannot believe that Tony was the guy behind making this book happen. Tony was always this guy that gave voice to the voiceless, this to the degrees that. And Tony has been this guy that also has made us believe that the world is not so bad as sometimes some people want us to make us believe. It's more good people than bad people. Only we need to make sure that we give the voice to the good ones and start taking the mic away from the bad ones.
To that point, if you have the mic and want to ask a question, they can bring it over. Well,
There's
Chef, while
two-
we're waiting for that, so you have all these restaurants, and yet there are going to be more disasters. Are you going to be more humanitarian or more cook? What's the future for you?
That's a difficult one. I'm 49. I'll become 50 next year. I'm trying to think what I'm going to do the next 50 years of my life. And it's a hard one. Because my guys are in Indonesia right now, and I know they are doing a great job, but I would love to be there with them. This year has been an amazing year. We've been in Guatemala, we've been in Florida, we've been in North Carolina, we've been in the fires in California, we've been in Hawaii, we've been in 2 volcanoes, we've been in many hurricanes, we've been in fires, we've been in earthquakes. And to me, I have Mini Bar, which is my 2-star Michelin restaurant, and we are 12 seats, and we cook, I don't know, we're like 40 people for 12 seats. Yeah.
If you can get a reservation, good luck.
Don't invest.
Yeah.
And this gives me a lot of joy, right? I have here with me Ruben Garcia, who is my chef de cuisine and creative director of Think Food Group, and he knows how much love we put into that. But there I'm cooking for the few. Good few, but for the few. And then I go to Guatemala, and we go to this place, Ceylan, probably 2 kilometers from the top of the volcano. And we shouldn't be there because it's dangerous. But we have to be there because there is a whole bunch of elderly people. They will not leave because they cannot move, or there's no roads really to take them out. And they're there. And probably it's better that they are there. But we're talking 80, 90 years old. And I go and I bring them food. And I see their smiles and I see their faces. So, yeah, I'm planning to do more of that probably. Because it feels good. Sometimes now, I go play golf besides that I'm a terrible player. I am good at picking up mushrooms because the ball is always on the forest. And already I understand the meaning of the hat. You come out with a hat full of mushrooms. But when I am, I think this happens to all of us. I think I'm going through my 50-year-old crisis. And the way I resolve my 50-year-old crisis is just cooking for more people. So I'm planning to do more of that, probably, yeah. We're good at it. And we have a big army. Every single man and woman chef in the world wants to join us. So we cannot escape that fate in a good way. And we're not going to be able tomorrow to be everywhere because we are getting phone calls to go everywhere.
Wow.
But I'm planning the World Central Kitchen will become, over the next 10, 20 years, a good, smart organization that we will respond to places that people are, after a hurricane or earthquake, in need of a hot plate. We will. And we're going to do it different. We're not going to be asking for, like we do now, that we get donations, $1, $10. We will, but we are always going to be telling you how much money we're spending. We don't want more money from you than the money we need for that operation. We need to be changing the mode that the NGOs work sometimes. They seem we are always asking for money, and sometimes we never know where the money is used for. Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing this kind of map that in real time, you're able to put $1, and we're going to connect that dollar to the tray of food we're making. And you're going to be able to follow in the map in real time where that food is going. to whom it's feeding, to what neighborhood it's going. And once we cover the needs of that mission, we don't want more of your money. Cannot be any different than in my private business. In my private business, I ask investors for the money I need to open the restaurant. In the NGO world, in the non-profit world, we're going to have to start behaving in the same way.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. In real time, I know that every dollar we always get goes to feed somebody.
That's fantastic.
And we need to be rechanging the ways we do this in the 21st century.
All right, we've got a question in the front seat here.
Thank you so much. I'm really touched by your empathy. And my question is around how do you take care of yourself to be so giving? What is your self-care recipe per se? What is that win that propels you forward? Because to be such a wonderful human being, there has to be a routine that you have to make sure that you are really willing to continue to help so many. So what is your self-care secret?
The voice is going
It's
that
a
way.
little echo. How do you take care of yourself in these situations? Because you had to go home when you were like dehydrated and exhausted.
Yeah, I have it very easy because all the team, I'm like almost the older guy, everybody, and they take all very good care of me. But you know, in Panama City, was no hotels. The destruction was so big that this first time we didn't find one hotel that was livable. And the closer hotels, they were too far away. And traffic was a nightmare in Panama City compared to North Carolina per se. In North Carolina, we were with 4 kitchens. We were in Wilmington. And in Wilmington, we had a hotel. We had another one in Raleigh. And so we had the teams sleeping in good beds. But in Panama City, we were sleeping in the floor at the headquarters of the EOC of Panama City, the headquarters for emergency, like everybody else. And you know, you do what you have to do. In my case, I try always to be eating a salad. I have a cigar at the end of the day. I know it's not good. My wife always says that that's my excuse to smoke cigars and look legal. But I always say I am a vegetarian and I smoke my vegetables. That's why not really smoking. It's like drinking. When I can, I make my rum sours when things are better because I like it. But I'm not really drinking. I'm supporting the local economy.
Okay.
But I take good care of I need to lose weight. A few pounds, but you know, I'm full of nutrients. I'm nutrient rich. It's 2 types of people, calorie rich and nutrient rich.
Yeah.
I am nutrient rich. Nonetheless, I'm obese.
So,
But nutrient obese.
okay.
No calorie obese.
All right, Chef, I get it.
We've got a question.
The answer, cigars and rum sours.
Got a question over here.
Yeah.
You talked about the famous picture where you're cooking, stirring the food with a canoe paddle. What were you cooking?
What were you cooking in this picture?
Let me see, I forgot.
Sancocho, no?
Yeah. What the hell was cooking?
Paella.
That's because that was, I think that day almost I was cooking for the family, for the volunteers, and it probably was, but in that pot, that dish is this kind of very soupy rice. This one was not even sancocho.
Maybe
The
asopao?
sancocho is like a big soup that Jose Enrique, one of my favorite people in the world, the chef from San Juan, who gave us the restaurant. We used his restaurant to start cooking. So he used to make sancocho, which is this amazing stew with yuca and squash and sweet potatoes and pork and pork sausage and pork ribs, and it was amazing. But in those pots, we were making a lot of rice and chicken. Manolo, who is the guy that has the biggest heart I've ever seen in my life, that if you don't control him, he will make rice for the entire planet. He's been there with us in Panama City. We did a kitchen in Mexico Beach that was really badly damaged. And Manolo went there, he put a whole bunch of paellas, and we were doing a few thousand meals a day right there in Mexico Beach. So those paellas are very good for these situations. We bring the food already prepared, but we finalize it in the pot, and so people can be having a fresh rice and chicken right there, right at the moment. No? So that's what I was cooking, probably. But again, I feel sad because the men and women that did it are the real heroes. Me, I was just the guy screaming all the time to try to make things happen. But that probably was the rice and chicken. But it's so funny. I didn't ask myself what I was cooking that day. I'll need to check with the guys.
Okay, yeah. We've got another question back there.
We do. We just have time for one more.
One more,
question.
okay, and we'll wrap it up.
So I'm not much of a cook, but I do know how to organize. And I wonder if you could explain how you went from knowing how to organize one restaurant to feeding 125,000. Was there a moment of clarity or education, or how'd you do it?
So I think the question is, how do you organize taking the model from one restaurant to thousands?
How do you are able to listen to it? I'm losing my ear.
I'm young, you know. Yeah.
I mean, has to be your accent. It's a beautiful accent.
The Chicago accents are tough.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So from one to so many. In the main kitchen, so we kept changing kitchens. First we began in Jose Enrique, but we became like a tourist place. Everybody knew what we were doing, so everybody was coming. Help or no help, to watch and to take photos, and became very chaos-like. But we kept receiving orders. So we were able to move to El Choli, which is like
the Coliseum, the stadium.
The Coliseum.
Yeah.
And there, from that kitchen, we end producing almost 75,000 meals a day. We had another kitchen, Mesa 234, from Chef Piñeiro, who he was nearby, and he was able to be doing many of the elderly homes in the area and the hospitals. We were feeding many of the hospitals because nurses and doctors, they didn't have food. They had money, restaurants were closed, so we were doing a lot of hospitals right in San Juan. But because we began receiving phone calls from all over, we saw that we couldn't have people driving 1-2 hours every day back and forth. And that's very quickly when I went down to Ponce. Ponce is beautiful. And Mayita, the mayor, that to me is one of the unknown heroes of what happened in Puerto Rico, but she is the mayor of Ponce, the second city in San Juan. And I visited her, and we saw the need in Ponce. There we were able to find our next kitchen, and then is when we began opening more kitchens. We opened one kitchen in one church, in the middle of the island, one in Adjuntas. We began opening all over, as was needed. Depends where we were having the most calls for food, is where we will decide to open a kitchen. We were able to partner with one, del Instituto de Banca y Comercio, which is a group of schools that they teach many different professions, but they had a cooking school. So once we were able to map those schools and see which kitchens were not damaged by the hurricane, we were able to put them up and running with a generator, the water, the food. We began creating the systems of delivery, so everybody knew when the water was arriving, when the gas was arriving, when the generators were arriving. And because we didn't have a lot of communication, I did this kind of big map. And in the map, we had the plan, all the kitchens, the places we were distributing the food to, and the map, we kept updating the map daily. I will share the map with our teams. They will download it when they could. And so the great thing is that everybody more or less knew where you needed to be, when, what was needed, who was in charge of water, made sure that everybody got water, who was in charge of vegetables and fruits, made sure that every kitchen had the vegetables and fruits, the trays to deliver the food. We were able to buy hundreds of thousands of trays. Without them, we couldn't. So at the end was infrastructure and logistics. The map gave me the power to do that in a simple way. Now, every time we go somewhere, the first thing we do is the map. Once we have the map, I'm able to give it to everybody, and everybody understands. Everybody already has a purpose. Everybody has a mission. We make sure that we are able to feed one person at a time, just one humble plate of hot food.
Chef José Andrés, Humanitarian.